Our Gospel reading today is from Matthew chapter 10 and reading from verse 40. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. This is the gospel of Christ. My next door neighbour rang our doorbell a few days ago. These days we often hear the bell, and when we open the door there's no one there. The delivery person is already halfway down the street to avoid contact. Roy had called to offer to cut our hedge, and we had a bit of a chinwag on the doorstep. Physically distanced, of course. It's strange, isn't it, not to be able to invite people into our house. Our son and daughter-in-law came for lunch last week to celebrate Father's Day. They didn't ring the bell, but they just walked around the house to join us in the garden for some food. It was wonderful to see them and to mark the fact that this wasn't just a day for Howard as dad, but also for Nathaniel, as his first child will make their appearance in about 6 weeks' time. We're looking forward not only to welcoming that little life, but being able to share our homes and our lives together once more. And also, of course, to throwing open our church doors to welcome in those who have felt bereft of such spiritual comfort. Remote gatherings have been great and a new discovery for many, but there's nothing like the actual physical sight of another human being, even if we still have to take care with touch. The words of Jesus in this short passage come in the context of the sending out of the apostles, which I spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Jesus was encouraging them to go and make disciples and proclaim that the kingdom of God was near. Here, Jesus speaks about the sort of welcome that they might expect. Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever welcomes you, whoever receives you, receives me. And whoever welcomes me, welcomes or receives the one who sent me." That word welcome in the passage can also be translated receive or accept. And Jesus is encouraging the disciples to go out into the world to share the good news, but to be aware that giving doesn't always mean that what we give will be received or accepted. Indeed, often the gospel, the good news, is not easy to receive, is it? There are various times in the Bible when Jesus offered something that was not accepted. Do you remember he spoke to the rich young ruler to go and sell all his possessions, something that he found difficult to fulfill? And Jesus also offered words to the Pharisees, to the rulers, to the teachers, which incensed and angered them greatly. And even his own disciples occasionally didn't want to hear what he tried to say to them about his own death. We've found in recent weeks that folk haven't always liked to hear what the church has had to say. People have found it difficult to accept that church buildings needed to remain shut in order that health and safety could be maintained. They've struggled to see that the church is far more than the building that it occupies. Some of us too have received angry comments about how we've responded to concerns over matters of injustice. Church leaders have often been criticised for our engagement in public affairs or political concerns, either for saying too much or saying too little. My view is that if the gospel is to be good news for all, then it has to be more than hollow words, but a real transformation in the way that we live both individually and as a society. Each of us, therefore, has a responsibility to play our part in bringing about that change, the kingdom of God becoming real. It's the giving of a cup of cold water to the thirsty, as we see in that image that Jesus offers. But it won't be received well by all. in making room for all, in sharing the cups of cold water, we move from an economy that favours the one above another and that's always challenging to the one who has become used to being top dog. Now this weekend we should have been making our annual celebration of ordinations in the cathedral. Always a special and memorable event in the life of our diocese. And sadly these have had to be postponed due to the virus. The usual excitement of the ordination retreat, receiving the bishop's charge, feet being symbolically washed, has all had to wait. But instead we shall be licensing our potential deacons as lay workers via Zoom, and you can watch that on Facebook, so please do. The expectation of ordination is delayed, but the ministry begins. A theologian once said, with God there are no givens. All is a gift. In other words, although these colleagues can't be ordained as we would have expected, it doesn't mean that this is not a gift from God. It seems to me that Jesus in his ministry always saw the situation that he was in, no matter how hard it was, as a gift from God to show God's kingdom. He welcomed all that he encountered in his life and showed how to make the best out of all situations. Even when he came to that ultimate test, to the cross itself, he endured it and prayed for those for whom he died. He asked his Father to forgive those who'd caused his death and committed himself into his Father's hands. I wouldn't say that he welcomed the agony of death, but he certainly showed the kingdom through it. So I wonder how the present situation is a gift from God for these ordinands as they approach a period of extension of their diaconate or a period of being a lay worker. How will God minister to them? What lessons will they learn about serving and calling and living in the world? What gifts will they receive? What ministries will they be engaged in? What will God say to them about ordination and the world? I believe that God will be speaking to them during this time, and I ask you to pray with me for them, that their formation, as together we pursue their calling, and of course we look forward to the time when they will be ordained deacon and priest, and perhaps we might ask them what God has taught them between now and then about their vocation. Meanwhile, what cups of cold water might you be offering this week?